Okay. Viכולו, השמים והארץ וכל צבאם. So Hashem completed heaven and earth and all of their hosts, their allegiance. Visa the Gemara says in Shabbos, call a mispalul be'erev Shabbos v'im Vay'chulu. Whoever davens in erev Shabbos and says Vay'chulu, Nasa shutiv lakadosh baruch hu b'maaseh b'reishis, becomes a partner with the Eibishter in creation. The Gemara, I have to look up the Gemara, but if I'm not mistaken, the Gemara says Vay'chulu can be read, well, al-tikra Vay'chulu ela Vay'chalu, they completed. So they completed means that you're a Yid and the Eibishter. The question is, how could it be said, but there's a partnership in creation? And especially, the question becomes stronger considering the following. True partnership is not you take a business, whatever it is, and it's divided into two, or whatever the conditions of the partnership might be. That's not so. That each partner has a particular share in the matter, which the other one does not share with him, and it's divided. Not so. Shutvis means every detail of the shutvis belongs to both of them. So that's what shutvis means. Interestingly, this sent us to if I bring it of Tavshin and Beis. Okay, Mr. Hashem, I'll look it up. Didn't have time yesterday to look up any Makaitis here, really. Yeah. So meaning, therefore, that means in our case that we become a partner by saying Viכולו with the Eibishter, that only by having the Kudah, that every aspect of creation, but my celebration is nas ish Yisrael, a Yid, Vay'chulu, who says Vay'chulu Friday night, Shutav, he becomes a partner, Shav, an equal partner, like Kadosh Baruch Hu, with the Eibishter. How can we say such a thing? Yeah, he doesn't have to elaborate. There's one creator. Further, Gam Tzaychel Havi, the Hinei Kivin Shekol Im Vay'chulu Nasa Shutav. So the Gemara says, whoever says Vay'chulu becomes a partner. Are moving? Shekol Yisrael Sha'imrim Vay'chulu. Every year that says it, no. In brackets he adds, Shari B'Shuftin Lo Yaskina, not dealing with fools. Nasim Shutfim become Shutfim. Now, what does it mean with by not dealing with fools? Just glancing at it, I don't know. The pshat may be that you have to have a kavanah to become a shutef. So if a Jew is told that by saying Vay'chulu become a shutef with the Eibishter, but not dealing with fools, he certainly would do so. Perhaps that's the pshat. If you have a better one, please share it. So if so, Ashutva shall call you Echad Misol L'Yirakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So since every Jew certainly is saying Vay'chulu does in fact become a shutef, so therefore the shutfus in the net result is not just with the Eibishter. He's a partner with who? Im Kol Shishim B'nei Yisrael, with all Yidden. So that's solely the net result. But the inference of the quote we just quoted is not that. Rather, he's only partners with God. But every other Jew is saying this and is also a partner. And that's the inference, because if it was otherwise, the Lashon would be different. The Maimah Chazal should have been expressed in the plural if the shutfus is with all other Yidden, which l'chayr it is, that kol ha'emrim should have said like this, in the plural, all who say, Vay'chulu, nasim shutim, we all become partners with the Eibishter. Not in the singular, Vay'chulu, one who says in the singular, nasa shutav, he becomes a shutav. Pardon?
Is it a halacha and Shulchan Aruch that you're supposed to say it with someone else, or it's a minhag?
It's a minhag. But that's a different, that's not because of shutfus, that's because of edus. That's bearing testimony. That's a different Indian. Anyway, yeah.
Shutvis also.
Okay, so you're adding, yeah, you're also becoming a shut, but it's a separate inyan. Separate inyan. So, l'chayr, that's the pshat here. The more I think about it, as I told you, what does he mean by levi shuftin yaskinan? We're not dealing with fools because he has to have this intent to be a shuttif.
You don't want to be a partner with a fool.
Huh?
You don't want to make a partnership with a fool, maybe. You don't want a
No,
fool
wait.
as a shuttif.
No, it's about the individual before he got to the public. Every Jew who says becomes a shuttif. Why? Because they're not dealing with fools. What's it got to do with it? Because it means that if he has opportunity to become a shuttif with God, he's got a great deal here. He's going to do so. That's the chayr, the pshat. I'm asking that the brackets just threw me. What's got to do with what's shift? What?
Is that a Baba Kama you have there?
What?
Is that the Baba Kama you have there?
No, it's an Eidah.
Check.
Baba Kama, it's Gemara Shabbos.
That's what common.
Number four?
Oh, that labor shuftin, it's got nothing to do with Baba Kama. It's chalal it's a klal in shas, nothing to do with this whatsoever. That Torah is not dealing with fools. We assume that the person is rational. No, it's got nothing to do with that. That will not help us here. The shayla is what it's got to do with the shutfas. So the explanation is, I believe, as I just said. Base. But you've been back. We'll understand this. My first preface. So repeat the questions. What's the first question?
How do we say shaykhis with the shutfus with the Eibishter?
What on equal terms with the Eibishter? This is a preposterous idea. Equal terms with God. Second question.
Shouldn't it be then plural? If every Yid is doing that.
Surely everybody is
become a
doing that.
partner with every other
So
Yid.
it's in the plural. He becomes a partner with the Eibishter and every other Yid, not just the Eibishter. So why is it in the singular? Yeah, they're the two questions. Understand, we're first prefacing the Maimon of the Tzemach Tzedek. One of the books that recently were redeemed from Meitzat Merchav. Somebody was holding onto it and finally gave it to the Rebbe or came out of Russia, whatever the story is. So in this manuscript of the Tzemach Tzedek, there's a Maimon that says, Shemevi Maimon HaMedrash Rabba ala Posuk. So that Tzemach Tzedek brings the Medrash on this Posuk, Viכולו השמים והארץ וכל צבאם. And the Medrash says as follows. The Posuk says in Tilim, L'chol tichlar isi ketz. To all that which has a beginning, I've seen an end. As he explains in the brackets, and maybe mefarashat Tehillim, that Tzemach Tzedek brings him the mefarashim. Ibn Ezra, L'chol tichla means everything which has a beginning, even though that's a chaf and that's a ches, but that's how he teaches it. That which has a start has an end. It means it's mugbal. That's true of everything. However, the pasuk continues. The pasuk in Tilim. However, your mitzvahs are broad indeed, exceedingly. Contrasting mitzvahs with everything else, mitzvahs eilem ketzakvul. A mitzvah does not have an end or a limit. Mitzvahs don't have an end or a limit. Still, Loshen HaMedrash, l'chakoil yesh sikusim. Everything has boundaries. Shamayim va'aretz yesh lehen sikusim. Heaven and earth have their limits, their boundaries. Shazeh al pirish Vay'chulu. That's what Viכולו means. Loshen tichle, which implies both a beginning and an end. Sheyesh lehem haschol v'siyum. Says the Medrash, chutz medavar echad she'ein li sikusim. Only one thing has no frame. Ve'ezem, what is that? Zuat Torah. That's Torah. Shenem baruchim be'eretz midah. About Torah, the pasuk in Eov says it's longer than the measured land, but a chavim min yom and broader than the sea. Okay, Bekitzer, to understand this only of Shutvas, he introduces the Maimon that's a Tzedek who quotes the Medrash that everything is limited except for Torah. Yeah? So Viכולו means an end, and an end means that it's a beginning. The beginning comes to an end, it includes the end that began with the haschala. That's creation. That's creation. It's beginning and end. But Torah is haruch me'eretz midah urachava min hayom. Now I was going to explain that. Yeah. The matter is as follows: an understanding the boundlessness of Torah. Your mitzvahs are exceedingly broad. Mitzvahs and bligvol, they're boundless. It's not that it's boundless relative to the limitations of creation. The whole h'tשכ that he describes creation, that all beginnings I see the end. It's not a relative bligvol. Elo zeh bligvol ha'amiti, true bligvol, which means in Pashtus, it's just not that it goes on and on and on. That's relative bligvol. But it's truly infinite. Like infinite numbers is irrelevant as a relative bligvol, because it's made up of one number, another one, just continues, just keeps on going. And it's relative bligvol because if you were to count, okay, so you'll die before you get counting. When you're counting this moment, next moment hasn't come yet. It's another. It just keeps on going. But right now, at every moment in the count, it's gvul. Except you could add another one. Your father's essay on infinity. I started reading it. But I have to. I thought I'd have time on the plane. Turns out I didn't have to do other inyonim.
You need a lot of time.
But it's on my couch, where I learn my little. It's like I still plan to get to it. Infinite and relative.
So,
Relative infinity and absolute infinity. That's the subject matter.
so real bleak vol.
Huh?
By real bleak vol, the concept of starting doesn't even apply. What's the real bleak vol? Who's going to explain?
In true bleak. Yeah. Here we're talking about an absolute infinite, and that's why he adds the word rechava, broad. Your mitzvahs ma'od, exceedingly. Now, what's ma'od mean? There's not the ma'od that we say in Krishma, because there it's b'chol ma'odcha, with all your exceeding ability. You've got to go beyond your limit. It's not truly limitless. It's just relative to your ability. It's a relative limitlessness. Not so here. Here, chava mitzvah ma'od. The given shazel mitzvah sechosh l'kadosh baruch hu your mitzvahs. So this bligvol is true and absolute. That is bligvol amit. It's truly infinite, not relative to finite. In fact, there's no real word for it because infinite means not finite. That word actually means relative to finite. There is no real word for true bligvol. Bligvol means without gvul. So it's still relative. Yes, you have to add the word hamiti. Language fails us. We don't have words to say that which is beyond words. So we say it's not words. It's not gvul. But by adding the word ma'od or amiti, we're conveying, we don't mean a relative infinite, but absolute infinite. As the Maamar goes on to explain, now this truly bligvol property, maybe a wrong term, property means a boundary. This truth of bligvolness is true even of mitzvahs. Within Torah mitzvah itself, Torah is higher. There's Torah doesn't even have the limitations of mitzvahs. Ki yadua achili bein Torah lemitzvahs, as is known the distinction between Torah and mitzvahs. The fact is that mitzvahs have an element of limit to them. Mitzvahs tefillin sheyesh badal parshas dafka. You have to have 4 parshas in the tefillin, not more. V'amoisif 8 parsha betefillin over al bal toisif. To add a 5th parsha, it's actual transgression.
That's the act of doing the mitzvah. It's not like the bleeding fullness of a mitzvah is the impact or the lasting.
Right, but there's still an element of gvul. And he's going to say Torah doesn't even have this. Torah doesn't even have that limit. That's a contrast here. And using
Then you say Torah also is limited in that way. Books.
and no, every svara deeper, never stops. Let him he'll speak. Let the Bible spell it for us. Spell it out for us. And the tefillin has a defined limit. Etzba'im, 2 fingers by 2 fingers. That's the width, the dimensions of the tefillin. It's like with all mitzvahs. The whole Torah is compared. When he says the whole Torah, it means the mitzvahs of Torah, the tefillin. That all mitzvahs have their limits. In addition to the fact that it's a certain time you do it, a certain place you do it. So the context of the mitzvah is limited, and the mitzvah itself is limited. It has this aspect. Nonetheless, it's bligvul. It conveys godliness, etc. But there is an element of gvul. We're contrasting in Torah mitzvahs. Mashenken at Torah b'ligvul. But Torah is boundless. Not an end to a subject in Torah. Deeper and deeper. A mitzvah, you got to stop the tefillin here. Don't make it more. Don't make it bigger. And still it's bligvul. So you're just saying, Chava mitzvascha ma'id, and aruch me'aretz midah about Torah is greater than mitzvahs, as he goes on to explain now. Prati is said, and in detail, in Torah, in the Torah Gufa, in Torah itself, this is the hemshach of the previous Maimer of that Shabbos. Yesh chilik ben galya de Torah lepnimis ha-Torah. Even in Torah itself, there's a difference between the revealed dimension and pnimis ha-Torah. Shegalya de Torah hi bakbola. The revealed aspect of Torah has its limitations externally. K'mashmoyis hakosov, as the very pasuk itself implies. The pasuk says, in describing or referring to Torah. It says, Aruch me'aretz midah, it's longer than the measured land, u'rechavam min hayom, and broader than the sea. So what does that imply? It has a measure, it's just bigger than the land and the sea. Sheyesh la midah, el sharuch me'aretz, it's more than the earth and more than the sea. Okay, this is the Gemara, like it says in the Gemara. Now I just brought the Gemara because it's a cheshbon over here of math. And let's see it. Gemara Eidevin. So I'll read it to you in English. You guys will do the math. So I'm just reading the English. The extent of the Torah, this is Gemara in Eidevin, Chaf Aleph and Mad Aleph. The extent of the Torah's vastness was not defined in the Torah itself. The psukim we just quoted. But how big is it? It's broader than the sea, it's broader than the land, but how big is Torah? Until Zechariah ben Idai, Zechariah came and defined it. What did Zechariah say? He has this vision. I'll say it all in English. And he says, the Eibishter said to me, what do you see? And I said, says Zechariah to the Eibishter, I see Megillah Appa. It's a famous Gemara. I see a folded scroll. Now, here comes the math. This is the Torah, right? Hashem is, the context there is that in the Torah is admonishment and it's a message for the Yidden to do tshuva, and Zechariah encourages them to do tshuva and to build the second base of Mikdash. That's the general context. Now, look how the Zechariah describes the Torah that he sees. Its length is 20 amas and its width is 10 amas. Now we're talking about the Eibishter's Torah. An Amma is an Amma. But here, it's not a human Amma, but a divine Amma. Rashi explains. Now let's keep on going. So the Gemara now calculates how big. He told us it's folded 20 by 10. So let's unravel this and see in divine Amas how big the Torah is. So the Gemara continues. If one unfolds it, it was folded. It'd be 20 by 20 because it was folded in half. And Zechariah, not now bringing to bear a pasuk from Yechezkel, describing the scroll, and it was inscribed on the front and on the back, both sides. Therefore, if you peel it, the back of the scroll from the front, so the two sides may be juxtaposed and read as one, how large would it be? Double, 40 by 20. Right? 40 by 20. Which is how many square amas? 800 square amas. Now the Gemara continues its cheshbon. So the Torah is Hashem's 400 square amas. How big is creation?
800.
Huh?
800.
I'm sorry, 800. How big is creation in terms of God's amas? Here we got the answer. The pasuk says, "Mimodad b'shol imayim v'shamayim b'zeres tike," which means, referring to Hashem, who measured with his fist the sea. So Hashem's, all the seas as God's fist, and the heavens with the span, and Amma he gauged. So this teaches us that the heavens measure one divine handspan by one divine handspan, which is 1/4 of a divine square Amma. Square Amma. So consequently, the entire universe is 1 in 32 hundredths of the Torah. 800 divided by 1/4 is 3,200. Okay, glad you got it. It's a part of the cheshbon. Okay, so 800 square amas divided by 1/4. Because one amma is 1/4 of a square amma. So the conclusion is that the whole universe is the Torah is 3,200 times bigger than the whole universe. What did they have a one from here? That's the Gemara's conclusion. It's taka vast, but there's a limit. This is nigla. Relatively speaking, it's still limited. That's the bottom line here. You want to look up the Gemara in the Eruvin, again, to get the numbers, not that complicated. So he concludes that the Maimon concludes this is the Gemara la pasuk. The Gemara says in the pasuk in Eruvin that Zachari said that Megillah Appa. I saw a folded scroll, Arucha, 20 by 10, and then it goes into the Achari Prati Acheshben. The Gemara goes to the Cheshbonis that it was folded and then it was written back to front. So it ends up that it's what? 800 square divine amis, and the whole world is 1/4 of that. Nimsa kolim kuli echad, 1/4 of a divine amma. Nimsa kolim kuli echad nishlisha salafim asayim b'Torah. The whole world is only 1 in 3,200 of Torah. So it's like a vast, but still limited. So this is Galya de Torah. We find Taka that many Tamam said we learned the whole Torah. The whole discussion there is one of the places there is about learning Chacham Chitzonius, Greek. He said he asked one of the Tanaim asked the question. He learned the whole Torah Kula. Is he not able to learn other things? The answer was yeah. When it's not day, when it's not night, and you can learn. That was the answer. But anyway, he wants to bring out from there is that he said he learned the whole Torah. And in Hilchos Talmud Torah, there is, you see that there is Pashut al pi halacha. It's possible to learn al pi halacha the whole Torah. Given Shibakbola, at the end of the day, so that means the primary text, the commentary is endless, but the primary text, Shas, and even a Poskim, but the whole Torah Halacha is Mishnah and Gemara. So it's limited. Achamitis in the bligvol mamish, but the true bligvol in Torah is where the pnimius HaTorah, which deals with the likus. Shazen Nemar, which reveals the likus. This is the hemshach to the Maimed of that Shabbos. Galein Rabbi Nefesh B'Torah Sach Commission is as we said before, explaining that David HaMelech's request, open my eyes, I should see the wonders in your Torah, is referring to what? Pnimius HaTorah. And this will be revealed through Mashiach. He's going to teach Torah to the whole people. Gam ha'avis of Moshe Rabbeinu, even the avis, but they know the whole Torah. So what's he going to teach them? He's going to reveal this truly infinite dimension. There is no boundaries at all. Okay, so what's the conclusion of Ois Beis? The Medrash contrasts creation with the Torah. Creation is limited and Torah mitzvahs are not. And he went into detail. Mitzvahs at the end of the day do have some kind of Hakabala. Nigla also has Hakabala. The true infinite nature, the emes bligvul of Torah is where in Pnimius HaTorah. However, yeah, let's continue. We're good, guys. Yeah.
Yes.
That which the pasuk says, that everything that has a beginning I saw an end, but your mitzvahs, now he means here mitzvahs as the conclusion here, it means Torah b'chlal and specifically Pnimius HaTorah. That's the ma'od. That's what is unpacked in the previous ois. Yeah? In Yachidish Bazeh, what's the big news? What's novel here? Does it mean? It means it's a Machsedek's Maimer. Yeah. It's understood from this Maimer. What's the Chiddush? The Chiddush is that in the limitations of the world, we draw the bligvul of Torah mitzvahs. Now that's a big Chiddush. Because finite cannot contain infinite. And the Chiddush is nonetheless the world remains a world, and in the world is suffused with bligvul. Vahainu spells it out for us. The intent of the pasuk is not to say rak sha'olam hu hakbala, contrasting. The world is limited. Torah mitzvah is bligvul. Torah mitzvah is boundless. Sharized davar hapashut. That's obvious. The given sha'olam yesh le'asma. Since the world has a beginning, shenivra b'sheishis me'breishis, that which has a beginning, it's not infinite, it has an end. And it's obvious. I mean, Torah mitzvah is not Hashem's creation, but His will, His wisdom and will. Like Hashem, they're infinite. So the Maimon Chazal is not, the pasuk is not to tell us simply to tell us in contrast the creation is limited and Torah mitzvah is not limited. That's not what the pasuk is saying. I have seen that all that has a beginning has an end, but your mitzvahs are boundless. It's not what he's telling us. We know that before the pasuk. What's the Melech saying? What's the chiddush of the pasuk? The fusion. The whole tichla with this finite world, with rechav mitzvahs chamiyod, your truly infinite mitzvahs. Shabligvol the rechav mitzvahs chamiyod, the infinite truth of your mitzvahs, nimshach is drawn gam ba'akbola within the limitations of that which has a beginning, the whole tichla, and therefore I see its end. In this beginning, the fusion is suffused with bligvul. Moishe b'Torah atzma. Now we see this in Torah itself. She'af al pi she'amites habli gvul b'pnimis haTorah. Where's the true limitlessness in Torah that's stuck in pnimis haTorah? Ve'ilu galya de Torah rak aruchem eretz midah, but as we said before from the Gemara and the pasuk, it's larger, it's bigger than the measured land and bigger than the sea. We gave even the number, but what's the point? Then the limitations of Nigla there, but Pnimius lies, Pnimius HaTorah, the infinite Pnimius HaTorah is there in Nigla. It's not two Torahs, it's one Torah. Okay, do but Pirish Maim Berazal, it is known. It tells us to look on the h'tשכ. That's interesting. Okay, God willing, we'll look up all these. No, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. No, that's what I'm saying. What did he say? Can you do it? That's h'tשכ. Okay. Ashrei, the Gemara says, Asher Mishibol Lakan. The Gemara is discussing the afterlife there. The Gemara says, Asher Mishibol Lakan v'Talmud b'Yoda. Fortunate is the one that comes here, head to heaven, and Talmud b'Yoda, he has his Talmud with him. So one of the Purushim in Chassidus is, well, why wouldn't he? If you learned, why wouldn't you? But the answer is that if he learned in a way Shalei Lishma, doesn't ascend, it remains in the Elam Hazeh. So that's why fortune is the one that he brings it with him in the world of truth, not tainted by his gaiva and agendas. That's one Pirish. But here the Pirish is as follows. Shadafka de Talmudi b'Yodai, in order to experience the Pnimius HaTorah of Gan Eden, which is the Schar, you have to have the Talmud with you. Limud Galya de Telemata Belemazeh. So that which you, it's a Yom Yom. That which you, one of the famous Yom Yoms, you learn and you know that Lamaila, you're going to experience the same, understand the same Gemara. But Pnimis, even though now I don't understand it, puts a fire even now. So, but what do we get? What's he getting there? He's going to get the Pnimis meaning of all he learned in Nigla. Galia, the Torah, Lamata Belam Haza, Yeshle Mai Lekan. So he brings his Nigla that he learned it down here in this world. Now he has the Pnimis Shabazet. Now he's going to get the Pnimis. So we see that what? That the Pnimis is present in the Nigla. So that's the same point that we're saying. Same in the bigger picture limitations of the world. The whole point is that in the limits of the world, the infinite property of Torah mitzvahs is revealed, just like the infinite property of Torah is revealed in its external finite dimension. Okay, we're just starting our journey to look up a few of the Makkahs here to get more clarity. And Be'ez Hashem, we'll continue tomorrow.